after the President's Truth Social post, the Browns finally took Shedeur Sanders. Does the President think he deserves credit for Sanders getting picked? And does he think going to the Browns is better than being undrafted?
Hey, all I will say is the President put out a statement, and a few rounds later he was drafted. So I think the facts speak for themselves on that one, Peter.
Well, I know you don't want to talk about football, but with the Deion, you heard of Deion Sanders?
You mean that little young girl situation?
No. You never heard of the famous football player Deion Sanders back in the day? He played for the Cowboys.
I know Jim Brown, Alex Karras. I know Johnny Unitas and such like.
And then I can't talk to you about how Trump tweeted, because during the draft, they thought he was going to be drafted in the first round, and he wasn't. He wasn't drafted until the 5th round. He was drafted by the Cleveland Browns. When Trump tweeted, he was like, "What is wrong with the NFL owners? Are they stupid?" Deion Sanders was a great college football player and was even greater in the NFL. He's also a very good coach, streetwise and smart. Therefore, Shedeur, his quarterback son, has phenomenal genes and is all set for greatness. He should be picked immediately by a team that wants to win. Good luck, Shedeur, and say hello to your wonderful father. And then he ended up being drafted, and it was the 5th round. Cleveland Browns, shout out to Cleveland Browns, drafting him. But they were taking their time, dragging their feet, and maybe they were trying to teach his father a lesson because his father's very flashy. But at the same time, it's like, why? Because you may not like his father, you're going to pause on him being drafted in the NFL.
Well, maybe what was going on is he didn't get drafted more close to the top is because none of the teams that had draft a priority in terms of having a losing record needed a quarterback. They were weak in some other positions, or they had a solid contract with their excellent quarterbacks that they couldn't afford to duplicate with somebody else. So it wasn't until the 5th round that somebody had a need for a quarterback that was low on their priority list. The Browns are interesting. The Browns started off in an off-brand league. They weren't part of the NFL. And what wound up happening is they have an interesting category in terms of black people. The Rams, when they were in Cleveland, hired the first black man to play in the NFL. That was Kenny Washington, who played at UCLA, where he was the quarterback / tailback, they called it. The next person black was Woody Strode, hired by the Rams once they got to Los Angeles. And then the third person hired by a pro football team was Marion Motley, the fullback for the Cleveland Browns. And the Cleveland Browns were formed by Paul Brown, and the team was named after him. And then their most famous football player was Jim Brown, number 32, the baddest ass back in the history of the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
And so
let's swing it back to the Deion
Cleveland Browns.
It was Deion Sanders. His son Shedeur Sanders was drafted to the Cleveland Browns, and this is him talking about, he has 2 sons, and 2 of them were drafted.
One of them is going to be one.
That's what I'm talking about.
One of them is going to be
speaking
one.
Into existence,
and the latter one would not go behind 4. Now, all this is subjective because I know where I want them to go. And let's not forget shallow, okay? But I know where I want them to go. So there's certain cities that ain't gonna happen.
Okay, you on point.
It's gonna be it's gonna be an Eli. One of the teams that I won't allow him to play for.
Whoa.
This is my profession. I know what's behind the curtain. We ain't got to get back there for me to understand what's not prominent for my son. I'm not doing it.
And if he doesn't listen to you?
Who? No, you must mean owners, like not my son.
Have you told him privately who you would like for him to play for?
It's not like who I would like for him to play for. It's a couple teams that I won't allow him to play for. Whoa. Teams that.
So I think it's they're saying that the owners and the GMs don't like the fact that Deion is very hands-on with his sons, and he coached his sons in college. He's advising them because listen, he's been in the NFL for a very long time, and he also played in the Major League Baseball for 10 years. So he knows about the contracts, he knows how to deal with GMs and owners, and he knows which teams are about what.
He played baseball and football.
Yeah. So I'm surprised
I think I've heard of him. Okay.
Deion Sanders. He played for the Cowboys, won some Super Bowls with them, and I think the 49ers as well. But yeah, I don't have his resume in front of me, but he's the real deal. So and then now his sons, he coached them in college, and now they're being drafted in the NFL, but it's like they were blackballed in the draft. So when they should have went round 1, round 2, at least round 3, ended up being round 5. And that's because what? Because dad is vocal.
Well, that's not exactly blackballed.
So Deion Sanders' career, let me just say this. He played Atlanta Falcons, San Francisco, Dallas Cowboys, Washington Redskins, and Baltimore Ravens.
Blackballed if you have to go free agency on the front end, which rarely happens, but does.
Oh, he also played for the New York Yankees, Atlanta Braves, Cincinnati Reds, San Francisco Giants. So listen, he knows sports. He knows how to negotiate. He knows what to expect. He knows the politics. He knows the politics of sports. So Trump vouched for him, right? And issued that he tweeted on, posted on Truth Social saying it's a damn shame. Like, what are you owners are doing? Come on, he's a great kid. Draft him. And then he got drafted. You still don't care. Yes, Cleveland needs help. So it's a lot of politics in sports.
Yeah, I played football in high school, Dorsey High, and at UCLA.
You played football probably for 1 year in college.
Well, 2.
You probably was sitting on a bench.
Actually, for the Frosh team, I was the leading ground gainer, but that's another story. And yes, I didn't start because they had the scholarship guys. I was just a walk-on. Wound up getting a scholarship, full academic scholarship from another entity, so I stopped working at that, trying to pay for the room and board bit. It was interesting, Bill's character, but I mean, it is just a game. This is in the 1960s, and we had fewer black players playing football at UCLA than they did in the 1930s. So in the 1930s, they had more black football players at UCLA than in 1965, 6, and 7, and 8. One outstanding running back was a guy named Mickey Curtin from Compton High School. And they did him so wrong. What would happen is they had a big, clumsy white guy that they started as a running back, and he would lose yards, and it would be 3rd and 14. They'd put Curtin in. He'd pick up 16, get the first down. They'd take him out, and then the other would lose yards. They'd put him in. He'd pick up a first down. He might run 30-some yards and get down to the 3-yard line. Then they'd take him out and put the other guy in, and the coach was from Tennessee. His name was, what was his name?
But what's the moral of this?
I can't even remember that character's name. So we had, for the football team at UCLA, we had 1, 2, 3 black football players on the varsity squad that started. One of them was Mel Farr, who is retired as a rich man, owning quite a few car dealerships in Detroit. And he was Rookie of the Year for the Detroit Lions. Another one was a guy named Willie Smith, who wound up playing law, practicing law. And another guy, I forget his name, he was a safety. I wound up playing safety about that time myself. But I mean, it was like ridiculous. I mean, in 1936, 7, and 8, they had like 9, 10 black folk on the UCLA football squad. And here you go in the 1966, you got 3, 4.
Mm.
What happened? And then one year in there, UCLA in the early 2000s, they had 90 some thousand full-time students. You know how many black freshmen they admitted this one particular year? I think it was 2004. One black freshman for all of UCLA. That's all they admitted.
Baseball. Why is it that, because when you were just talking about, a certain amount of black players on UCLA at a certain time and then decline, I see a decline in Black American baseball players in the major leagues and on a college level and in the little leagues. Whereas at a point in time, you saw a lot of Black Americans in that sport. So it seemed like
there's no place to play it.
Why do we have so many baseball players, Black American baseball players at one point, and now it's a complete decline?
You had so many places to play it. You had vacant lots. You could play stick ball out there on the streets. You can't do that now. But you can have basketball courts. That's why you have so many black folk playing basketball. You have a basketball set up. You can put the goal up on the street corner, in the middle of the street on a portable backstop. So every park, amusement area has basketball courts, but you don't have any place for the kids to play baseball. And so baseball, quiet as kept, is a good way to put yourself to sleep.
Well, let me ask you this, because do you think that it's a do you think it's this lack of investment, lack of parents participating, or lack of not having those sports in your?
It's a dull sport. Nobody's particularly interested. Baseball became big when a guy would get off work, pay his nickel to get in a game, sit there for 3 or 4 innings with his buddies, drink a beer, eat a hot dog that he wasn't supposed to eat because his wife was cooking dinner, and then go home, eat dinner, and read about the ultimate end the next morning in the newspaper.
But the baseball players in the professional league, they are the highest players in the United States in the sport. They get paid,
maybe.
No, they get paid more than NBA players, and they get paid more than the NFL.
Some.
No, and that's guaranteed. So when you look at the top baseball players, or even your average baseball player, they equate to a top NBA player's salary, and that's guaranteed money. NBA is guaranteed too, but the NFL is not. To me, it is a boring sport too, right? But it is still profitable. It's very profitable.
Yeah, I know. See, it's this thing where people have nothing better to do, so they show up and they watch the game and they sit.
But when you look at people from Japan and South Korea, the Dominican or Puerto Rico, the Caribbean, there you see a lot of those players now are in the league or coming into the league. So they really are keeping this sport alive from their respective countries, right? It's popular. But here, it's still profitable, and I guess it is still popular.
It's hugely profitable, but it depends on the team. See, with the NBA and NFL, the teams split the total revenue that comes into the system. That's not the way it is with baseball. So some teams are enormously profitable, like the LA Dodgers, and other ones are perpetual money losers.
And is it because, too, there are more baseball games being played throughout the season than there are football, definitely, and basketball?
I don't think it's got to do with the number of games. I just think it's the structure they have when it comes to how you get in.
Okay.
It's got a long tradition. See, baseball used to be known as rounders. It developed during the American Civil War as an abbreviated edition of cricket. And if you really want to see something that's boring as all get out, go to a cricket match, especially a challenge match that lasts 3, 4, or 5 days. They don't have separate games. They've got one going and the players are out there asleep on a cot until somebody wakes up to go get a turn at bat. And then it's crazy. Somebody is at bat and they get a hit, they can decline to run the bases. And it's like, what did they just do? You know, this guy hit the ball. How come? Well, he's electing not to run. So with cricket, when they pitch, the ball has to bounce one time before it gets to the batter.
Yeah,
And then the batter can elect to run or not run.